Whispers of the Ancients, East Asia Episode 9, The Sui Dynasty. Architects of unity 581 to 618 CE in the hush between empires. Where war drums had faded and dynasties lay in dust, there rose a brief, burning beacon, a dynasty forged in ambition, unity, and sheer monumental will. The Sui, born from the ashes of disunion, would wield the chisel of centralization to sculpt a reunited China brick by brick, law by law. Canal by canal, though their reign was short, their legacy was vast, echoing through time like the slow pulse of a mighty river. This is the tale of the Sui, architects of unity, dreamers of a restored Middle Kingdom, a dynasty that dared to reconnect heaven and earth. From the Great Wall's edge to the rice fields of the Yangtze, let us walk the imperial way beneath banners of fire, across stone bridges and blood-soaked fields, and uncover the grandeur and tragedy of the dynasty that set the stage for China's golden age. 1. A China divided, the legacy of fragmentation. Before the Sui, China was a fractured mirror. After the fall of the Han, the land had splintered into shifting kingdoms and ephemeral courts. The three kingdoms, the Jin, and the southern and northern dynasties, each had come and gone, leaving behind trails of war and disunity. 4. Nearly for centuries, northern steppes clashed with southern scholars, and nomadic dynasts ruled over Han hearts. Confucianism waned as Buddhism surged, roads decayed, canals clogged, bureaucracy splintered. The mandate of heaven, once the guiding star, was dimmed by chaos. But in the north, a new force stirred. A man not born of ancient nobility, but of sharp ambition and cold pragmatism. His name, Yang Jian. 2. The rise of Yang Jian, the northern general with imperial dreams. Yang Jian was no idle aristocrat. As a commander under the northern Zhou dynasty, he proved his mettle through battle and diplomacy. But it was marriage and bloodlines that placed him within reach of power. His daughter had married the northern Zhou emperor, making Yang Jian the emperor's father-in-law. When that emperor died, Yang Jian became regent, but he had no desire to serve. In 581 CE, he seized the throne, declaring the birth of the Sui Dynasty, and naming himself emperor when he was a master of consolidation, ruthless with rivals, loyal to order. In mere years, he crushed internal dissent, codified laws, and tamed the bureaucracy. But his gaze turned south, to the land of rice and river, to reunite China under one dragon banner. 3. The conquest of the south, the dream of unification. The south, ruled by the Chen dynasty, was cultured and proud but soft with decadence. Emperor Wen's armies surged across the Yangtze in 588 CE, their warships slicing through mists and resistance alike. By 589 CE, the Chen court fell. China was one again, north and south bound beneath a single emperor. It was the first true unification in centuries. Temples rang out in praise. Poets wept for joy. Roads once severed now flowed with silk and grain. Emperor Wen had restored the Middle Kingdom, but peace was only the beginning. 4. The Grand Canal, arteries of empire. To govern an empire, you must connect it. And Emperor Wen understood this better than any. Thus was born the Grand Canal, a colossal engineering feat, binding the grain-rich south with the hungry northern capital. It stretched over 2,000 kilometers, carved by countless laborers, lined with locks and stone banks. It was not mere infrastructure, it was the empire's spine. Soldiers, taxes, rice, and edicts all flowed faster. Cities blossomed along its banks. The Grand Canal would outlive dynasties and kings, nourishing the empire for over a millennium. 5. Reforging the bureaucracy, law, order, and the mandate. Emperor Wen also revived the machinery of rule, drawing from ancient Han blueprints. He standardized the bureaucracy. Merit, not bloodline, began to matter. Officials were selected through examinations, harsh, Confucian, and brutally selective. Laws were codified, taxes were structured. Buddhism was promoted, yet Confucian ethics guided governance. A new civil order emerged, centralized, efficient, and tightly controlled. The Sui were not merely warriors, they were organizers, reformers, builders of the imperial body. 6. Faith and legitimacy, the Sui and Buddhism. Like a river flowing from India's sacred peaks, Buddhism had flooded China with new thought. The Sui embraced it not just as faith, but as a tool of unity. Temples were built, monks favored, and sutras translated. Emperor Wen cast himself as a Chakravartana, wheel-turning king ordained to protect the Dharma. Yet the state's embrace of Buddhism was pragmatic. It calmed the people, legitimized the throne, and bridged gaps between north and south. The Sui did not merely build canals, they built spiritual pathways to 7. Emperor Yang, the shadow of greatness. In 600 for CE, Emperor Wen died, possibly assassinated by his own son. That son ascended as Emperor Yang of Sui. Brilliant, charismatic, and cruel Yang was a paradox. He expanded the Grand Canal, launched campaigns into Vietnam and Korea, and beautified Luoyang with lavish palaces. Yet his rule grew bloated, with extravagance and ambition. Where his father had been austere, Yang was indulgent. He sought glory on battlefields far from homeland, left the empire trembling under the cost. Like the mighty Grand Canal they carved into the land, the story of the Sui flows with brilliance and burden. If you're enjoying this journey through China's ancient empires, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What other dynasties or hidden stories would you like us to uncover in future episodes? Let your voice echo across time. 8. Glory and overreach, the Korean campaigns. Emperor Yang's hunger for conquest soon turned his eyes eastward toward the Korean peninsula, where the kingdom of Goguryeo stood defiant and proud. Between 612 and 614 CE, he launched 3 colossal campaigns mobilizing over 1 million troops, building massive fleets and demanding total submission. But Korea was no easy prey. The mountainous terrain, guerrilla resistance, and logistical chaos turned glory into nightmare. Entire Sui armies vanished in snow and forest. At the Battle of Salsu River, only a few thousand of nearly 300,000 men returned. The cost was unbearable: millions conscripted, thousands dead, and the treasury bled dry. The once celebrated Grand Canal now bore corpses and mutiny. Emperor Yang's ambition had outpaced the empire's endurance. 9. The empire fractures, rebellion from within. The people groaned under labor, conscription, and heavy taxes. Famine spread. Bandits became warlords. From the Yangtze Delta to the Yellow River, rebellion flared like wildfire. One by one, regional governors declared independence. Armies mutinied. Peasants rose with pitchforks and torches. Emperor Yang, once surrounded by splendor, became a fugitive in his own realm, wandering south, seeking loyal shelter. In 618 CE, he was assassinated by his own generals in Jiangsu, strangled in his palace, alone, surrounded by fading echoes of music and marble. The Sui Dynasty had ended as quickly as it had risen, but the soil it left behind was fertile. 10. Legacy of the Sui. Foundations for a golden age. Though the Sui ruled for only 37 years, their impact was immense. They reunited China after centuries of chaos. They rebuilt institutions. Their Grand Canal, civil service reforms, and legal codes would form the backbone of the Tang Dynasty, a dynasty that would inherit the dreams of unity and carry them to celestial heights. Like a bridge spanning turbulent waters, the Sui connected the ancient world to a new imperial dawn. 11. The canal lives on, echoes in stone and water. Long after the Sui had fallen, boats still glided along their Grand Canal. Dynasties rose and fell, but the canal remained a living artery of trade and culture. Along its banks, cities swelled, markets boomed, and scholars traveled. Even today, in modern China, parts of the ancient canal still flow, testament to the Sui's enduring vision. Their rule may have ended in fire and betrayal, but their works outlasted the screams. 12. The burden of greatness, the paradox of the Sui. History remembers the Sui with a blend of awe and sorrow. They were both liberators and tyrants, builders and destroyers. Emperor Wen restored unity with discipline and vision. Emperor Yang shattered it with indulgence and war. But together, they embodied the eternal paradox of empire greatness born from pain, unity at the edge of a sword. Their dynasty was not a long chapter but a powerful interlude, a necessary breath before the song of the Tang could begin. 13. Faces in the fog, voices of the forgotten. Imagine a peasant laboring on the Grand Canal, sweat stinging his eyes. A scholar crossing from Luoyang to the south, scrolls packed with Buddhist sutras. A soldier marching to Korea, unsure if he'll return. A merchant watching the empire rise and crumble in his lifetime. The Sui were not just emperors and edicts. They were millions of ordinary lives woven into an extraordinary, fleeting tapestry. Their voices are faint, but if you listen closely, you can still hear them whispers beneath the stone. Footsteps on ancient bridges. 14. The wheel turns from Sui to Tang in the wake of the Suis. Collapse. One general rose from the chaos Li Yuan. In 618 CE, he declared the Tang Dynasty, claiming the mandate of heaven. He was the heir to the Sui's unfinished dream, but one who would learn from their hubris. And so, the wheel turned again, but the road had been laid by the Sui brick by brick, river by river. 15. Closing reflection. Architects of unity. The Sui were the phoenix of Chinese history, born in flame, burning bright and falling quickly. But their ashes nurtured the future. They dared to bind a fractured land, to reach across rivers and valleys, to imagine a China whole again. Though their dynasty ended in blood, their vision endured. They were architects of unity, and their blueprint, once etched into canals, courthouses, and the very soul of China, would guide emperors for centuries. Let us remember them not only for their fall, but for their fire. As the sun sets over the Grand Canal and lotus petals drift on ancient waters, we bid farewell to the dynasty that dared to rebuild a nation. Their story reminds us unity is fragile, vision is costly, and even the briefest spark can light the way for generations. Join us next time as Whispers of the Ancients continues with the story of the Tang Dynasty, the golden age of poetry, progress and power. Subscribe, share, and follow the journey the ancients still whisper, if we dare to listen.